Good morning and welcome to today's live. We're going to be talking about routine last week, and this week we're talking about setting boundaries. So some of the things that I want to have a chat about today are that, look, I think this is a really good conversation to lead on to the one that we had last week around managing our routine. And what we've found is that our routine only works when we've got boundaries in place, and those boundaries are there to help protect us. They're to help clarify what is our responsibility and what is the responsibility of others. They're there to help preserve our physical and our emotional energy. They help us to sort of set our path and manage ourselves in the right direction, and so that we can help work out what it is that we should be focusing our attention on and what we need to be doing around that. They also help us live our values. So we know what's important to us and we know what it is that we want to stand for, and it helps us determine how we go about actually showing up and how we go about actually addressing that and making sure that we are living in alignment with those values. It also helps us identify our personal limits. So we know how far we can run, or we know how hard we can work. So having a really clear understanding of what those personal boundaries are can help us manage all that. So realistically, our boundaries are all about helping us to manage our personal energy so that in turn we can actually manage our well-being. So if we start to look at that, what it is the first thing we need to be looking at is identifying our own personal limits. Now, this is something that I would actually also consider as being knowing what your own personality traits are. So it's really about self-awareness. It's about really being clear on how you react to different situations and how you can manage that. So when we look at what our heightened emotions are, that's usually a pretty good understanding of when you're starting to feel like your boundaries are being stretched, and when you're starting to feel you're stressed, you're tired, you're emotional, you're angry, or any of those general feelings of discomfort. Now, these things could be a tightness in your body, maybe it's a tightness in your shoulders, or it's tightness in your chest, or you're having difficulty breathing. All of those things are sending up red flags for us that we're helping to clarify where our limits are, getting to the end of those limits. Now, look, I'm no different to anybody else here. I'm constantly pushing myself to those limits as well. And I know that when I get to those things, I do get anxious. I start to, really start to question everything that I'm doing. And it's about being really conscious of where those red flags are. And as I start to push myself to those boundaries, I know that I need to take a step back, and I need to start to look at ways that I can then start to support myself and to pull back and take more control over those boundaries. And so it's really about that self-reflection and being really self-aware of where those boundaries are and what you need to be doing to put that back into place. We've talked about doing things that, what are the things that, how do you manage your energy? And we spoke about this last week in terms of what it is that gives us energy and what depletes our energy. And this is one of those things again, and we start looking at how those boundaries start to impact on us. If we understand where our energy is starting to get depleted, and when we're starting to have these red flags go up and those physical symptoms are starting to show up and those emotional symptoms as well, we then can start to look at how we can put more of those things that light us up, how those things that give us energy back into our day so that we can start to achieve a bit more of that balance. So another one of these really, those red flags could be around resentfulness or feelings of guilt. So, perhaps you're feeling like you're not getting enough work done at the moment, or perhaps you're feeling in the opposite direction, you're not spending enough quality time with your family. Those are all the little red flags that start to come up for us to be aware of where we're not managing our boundaries and managing those expectations. Another one that I think is really good to have is around having self-imposed boundaries. So it's around really having clear expectations and having an idea about what your working rhythm is. So we've all been working at home for a few weeks now. You've probably got a bit of an understanding about what is possible for you to achieve and, what you feel like is comfortable for you to actually achieve. That's a rhythm that you've got into now. We can all get a bit of a feel for how it is that we're able to manage our day. And while it's great to have our to-do list, if we're not getting through that to-do list and we're not getting that positive feedback loop coming through, that feeling of not actually achieving anything and not getting anywhere, that's not really helpful for us either. Like, that's really quite depleting for our energy levels, because we're not having that reinforcement that we're actually moving forward and that we're actually doing a good job. So having a to-do list, but being able to physically tick those things off and have that feedback loop that tells you that you're actually achieving it and you're making progress and you're moving forward. So some ways that you can start to do that are start to look at how you can take 2 to 3 of those big things and really get stuck into them and focus them on first, so that you can then actually tick them off and say, yep, I've achieved that today, I've completed it. So that's when we do our morning daily huddles, we talk about what are the 3 things that we really want to achieve today. What do we need to get done? And so that we can, at the end of the day, feel really accomplished and go, yep, I've ticked that off and I've achieved that. So having that sort of positive feedback loop to reinforce that we're moving forward. So some of the things that can actually impact on that is maybe we're working on a big project. Maybe it's got, it's quite a big project, it's got a long time frame, but breaking that down into smaller projects, into tiny projects, so that we can feel like we're actually making progress and we're successfully moving forward, and we've got that feeling of accomplishment coming through. So, that might be around time blocking. Let's say you've got a big article that you need to write for work, and you know that it's going to take you a couple of iterations for you to actually sit down and get that happening. So what you might want to do is put aside an hour or 2 a day, and you can progressively work through that. If you feel like that's not working and you're sitting there and just looking at a screen, maybe break it down and say, okay, I'm going to write 100 words every day, until you can start to build some momentum and move your way forward on that. Let's say you're working on a big project. Maybe it's breaking it down into some smaller milestones and going, okay, by tomorrow, I'm going to get X done. And then the next day, I'm going to get X done. And then that way you've actually always got that positive feedback loop coming through. And it's reinforcing the fact that you've actually got that forward momentum and that you're actually achieving things. One of the other things that we spoke about last week, and I want to just reinforce too, is using time management around like the Pomodoro method. So the Pomodoro method is like, there's so many apps available for it. It's a timer for 20-25 minutes. You set the timer and you can focus on a particular task and get stuck into that particular task for that period of time. And then the timer goes off and it reminds you to go and have a break before you then sort of get stuck into the next bit of work. And what that does is, by focusing our energy and activities into one singular task and not multitasking, we can actually feel like we're making progress because we're putting all of our energy and attention into that one activity. So when we have that positive feedback loop, it's actually helping us reinforce that forward momentum. The other thing that is a real distraction is technology. So technology can be a massive time waster. You constantly got your dings and your pings and your new mail popping up all of the time. So being conscious of that and turning that off when we need to really get into a work mode, and being conscious of how we then turn those things off and that we don't get stuck in these rabbit holes. The other thing is, when you're researching or you're browsing for information, or you're trying to get some content that you might need to on the internet, put a time limit around those things, because those sometimes can actually become a real rabbit hole for you and you get stuck in it. I know that with us, the Pinterest rabbit hole is a great one. It just, you can go through all the windows and then you go deeper and deeper and deeper. And what you end up doing is, an hour later, you've wasted all this time and you're doing all of this work and you get absolutely nothing done. And someone actually disagreed with me, so thank you for that. So just be really conscious about where your time is being spent, and therefore where your energy is going, and what those boundaries around that are as well, so that you can control that time. So the next one I want to speak about is family member boundaries. It's with your family member boundaries, what you need to consider in terms of how you can all be working together. Now, at the moment, we've got kids that are being homeschooled. We've probably got partners or housemates that are in the home with us at the moment as well. And we're all trying to just do the best that we can. And there's a lot of us trying to do different things. But I think there's really 3 really key things that we need to be doing in terms of setting boundaries with our family. It's to communicate, to plan, and to schedule. So we need to be communicating what the non-negotiables are for us during our workday. What do we absolutely got to get done? What do we have in terms of meetings or online catch-ups or deadlines that we need to achieve? So being really clear what we have to actually achieve around our non-negotiables. So communicate. Plan. I love to plan. I love to have everything mapped out and know exactly what I'm doing. So I think it's really important, in order to be able to control what your deliverables are, is to be able to plan them out, to understand what everyone's needs to be doing, and then manage that time accordingly. Schedule it. you can plan it, but then it has to be written down somewhere. We need to schedule it. So, you know, does your housemate need to have a really quiet space for a period of time so that they can actually get you know, an important meeting done? Do you need to do that? Do you have to get the kids homeschooling done? Is there a time frame in which that needs to be considered? So being really clear around who's got to get what done and by when, and then scheduling that out so that everyone can sort of be clear about what needs to happen for the day and to get it done. So really working all around all of that and working around each other and being conscious of what everyone's requirements are throughout the day. And then really putting in that time for work and play, because we've all going to be in a heightened sense of stress at the moment. So really having that outlet and having an opportunity to sort of unwind and enjoy that period of time where you can just take a break, play with the kids, take the dog for a walk, having those boundaries so that you can also disconnect and unplug. The other one around that is having some visual cues to help guide your household in terms of understanding when you're at work and when you're available. So think about it. If you're lucky enough to have your home office, you can close the door, and maybe that's the symbol to everyone else that I'm at work now, I can't be disturbed. Maybe you're not fortunate enough to have a home office, so you need to be a bit more creative. Maybe you've got a traffic light system is red, I'm busy, please don't disturb me. Green, I'm working, but it's okay if you want to come and have a chat to me, I'm available. Some that we've seen in offices is flags. We've seen symbols like plastic toys. So when the plastic toys on top of the monitor, I'm not available, I'm busy. So try and get a bit creative and try and find some fun ways that you can incorporate that into your family to help give them some visual cues around when you're available and when you're actually at work. The last one I want to talk about is setting boundaries, and that's and expectations with your team. So really what we're talking about here is, you know, much of what we're talking about with managing your boundaries is around your self-management and your self-discipline. But then it's also about your communication. So it's about being clear about what it is that you need to achieve, how you need to get that done, and then having the self-discipline to manage that, and then also to be able to communicate that with everyone else that you need to be involved with. So think about how you worked in the office. If you really had to get something done, you'd probably go and squirrel yourself away into a quiet room. If you're lucky enough, you probably even work from home, which is quite ironic given the current situation. But you are looking to replicate that same principle. So you were disconnecting, you were getting away from everything, and you were fully concentrating on the activity that you needed to do. So apply that same principle at home. So set aside the time and let everyone in your team know that you're going to be offline. Look at what your communication tools are to be able to get yourself offline. So if you're using Teams or using Slack, you've got the ability to use your notifications there to let others know that you're offline. But even just sending out a quick message and going, hey guys, I've just got to go and focus on this for another couple of hours. I'm just going to be, you know, switching off my emails and I'm disconnecting. It's about being clear and letting everyone else know that that's actually what's happening. And that communication process was actually going to be really beneficial for strengthening your team and setting those boundaries so that you can actually get what you need to do done. So many of us, this is a big one for me. So many of us are talking about how we are just so overwhelmed at the moment and how we are feeling like we're underachieving. Now, I'm no different at the moment. I'm feeling completely overwhelmed with everything that's happening as well. And it's about trying to manage those things. And it's a timely reminder for us to think about what can we control and what can't we control. So, you know, it's around that circle of influence. You know, what is it that's within my control and what can I do to manage my own energy and therefore manage how I show up in the world. And I think that's one of the things that we probably need to be taking away and be far more conscious about. Like, I can control what I need to get done when I can get it done, but I can't control what's happening outside. I can't control if the guy next door decides to, you know, set up his mole while I'm trying to do my deep concentrative work. But I can control the fact that I can put some headphones on and put some relaxing music on while I'm trying to get the piece of work that I need to do done. So think about your environment and think about how you can then change what it is that you can control in those situations, and then be really conscious about the fact, well, I can't control that, and kind of letting that piece go. So Finding your groove as well. You might not be as productive as what you were when you're working in the office and, or when you had the choice to work from home. So being really conscious about that and then setting the boundaries and expectations that align with that for yourself and being able to then just manage that same workload. I've had a peer tell me that, she's been put down to working only half the time that she was previously, but she's still expected to complete the same amount of work in half the amount of time. Like, it's just not going to be a realistic outcome. You can't expect to be able to achieve all of the things that you were doing before when you're working a 38, 40-hour week when you're only working 20 hours. So be realistic about what it is that you can do and put those boundaries in place so that you can manage that time more efficiently. So I think it really comes down to three key things that we've spoken about here today. It's around communication. You need to be able to communicate. You need to be able to communicate clearly, and you need to be able to do it often with your team. It's about the messaging. Is how are you communicating? What are you telling other people, both through what you're taking on, but also what you're putting out? And then setting your priorities and planning around them. And what are the key things that you need to actually achieve, and how do you go about actually ensuring that you've got those things and they're being the things that are ticked off first and foremost. Oh, and there's someone at the front door. Just one moment. Sorry about that. But this all goes both ways between you as a team member and as the manager. So I think it's just really reinforcing why your structures are really important in having a daily huddle. Excuse my husband just wandering through the background there. Everyone say hi. And it just reinforces those structures about your morning huddles and why they're so important, and how you can be then reinforcing those boundaries that need to come into place, but also reinforcing, yes, real life working from the home experience, careers coming to the door. Yes, that's it. Actually, the guy coming to fix the fridge. So real life example of what's going on here. But yeah, just to get back to what we're saying, so it has to go both ways. So as a team member, it's also up to you to communicate up to your manager what you can achieve, what you can't achieve, what your boundaries are, and setting those expectations of how you can go about managing your priorities and being clear on that. But that's why it's also really important to have those structures in place, particularly around having your morning huddles, because those morning huddles are an opportunity for us all to bring to the table what it is that we're working on, and be clear about what it is that we want to set as our priorities for the day. And it's a safe space that we can then communicate and speak about where we're having challenges and struggles, and what we need to actually do to achieve that and to resolve those. So I'm just wondering, throwing it out there now, is there any questions from anybody? Have we got any, is there any feedback? What are you guys struggling with the most at the moment in terms of setting boundaries? And, how are you feeling about what you can control and what you can influence at the moment? And is there anything that you would recommend for other people to consider, and what you found is actually working well for you? I'm keen to hear from anyone who's got any questions at the moment. Let me know. I'm particularly finding at the moment is, being really conscious of what I can control and what I can't control. And it's just having that constant reminder coming back to me, because, I think everyone in this situation, we're all human and we're all going to have those emotions and things coming up. But I think it's just really being clear on, and coming back to that and finding ways to do that. And I know that at the moment I'm feeling like that's this heightened sense of anxiety because I'm trying to get all the things done in all of the ways, but there's only so much that I can actually achieve, and it's coming back and being really conscious of that. Katie said that she's got some awesome reminders. She's definitely let this slip of late. You're not the only one, myself as well. Lisa said here she's got comments and the feeling of overwhelm and refinding her groove really resonates with her at the moment as well. Yeah, I think we're all just really struggling with some of these things at the moment, because there's so much stuff that we can't control that is being imposed on us at the moment. And so we just need to be mindful of those things and acknowledge the fact that we can't control them, and look at the things that we can control. We can control the fact that we can go outside and enjoy the fresh air. We might be able to go and have that catch up drinks with our friends, but we can look at, other ways that we can be looking to find those connections. Elisa said, great points. One of her biggest struggle is with toddlers who don't understand boundaries. no, they do not. And my 18-month-old does certainly not understand boundaries either. Boundaries are something that we're definitely having to learn at the moment, but it's all work in progress. And look, I think that's actually another really good point too, is because we can't control all of the people around us, and particularly our 18-month-old toddlers. They are just not going to comprehend any of those particular boundaries. So it's about trying to work with that and then accommodate that as best as we possibly can in our day-to-day working. But I hope that this morning has been helpful and has given everyone a few timely reminders. It certainly gave me a few timely reminders actually putting together today's session, because I'm probably getting to that point too where I'm just feeling like it's all building up and I need to take a step back and find some space for me to breathe and find some space for me to really top up my tank. It's probably been a bit neglected lately. So thanks for everyone, and thank you for your interaction today. I appreciate that. And I look forward to catching up with you all again next week. Just a quick reminder, jump into the Facebook community dialogue group. We love to keep working and chatting on through these conversations. It's been good to get that interaction happening. And why I have been working my little butt off at the moment is we just launched our first course, our Workplace Dynamics Blueprint Work From Home edition went live yesterday. And so what that is it's a 5 video modules around how you can create the best work at home environment for yourself. It's understanding all of the principles and philosophies that go into designing corporate workplace environments and how you can replicate that at home to help guide your behaviours and your routines throughout the day, because our workplaces are actually getting so many physical cues for us around how we should be interacting with those environments and how we actually work during the day. So if you or anyone else that you know is really struggling with that, it's a great resource there to support us all in maximising and optimising our performance while we're working from home. So thanks everybody, and go and enjoy your day, and remember, what can we control and what can't we control, and set those boundaries. See you later. Bye.